Hello and welcome to another episode. I am your host Rashad. Joining me as always is my sister Richauna
Hello there.
and my wife Mika.
Hey, hey.
If this is your first time, thank you for listening. Thanks for watching. And we also want to encourage you to like this video and subscribe to our channel to know when the next videos are coming out. All right, without further ado, let's get into it. Today, we are reviewing the movie Argyle. This is currently in theaters. This is going to be a non-spoiler reaction plus a full spoiler review. Argyle is starring Henry Cavill as Agent Argyle, Bryce Dallas Howard as Elly Conway, Sam Rockwell as Adian Wilde, Bryan Cranston as Director Ritter, Lipa as Lagrange, Ariana Debose as Keira, John Cena as Wyatt, Catherine O'Hara as Ruth, Samuel L. Jackson as Alfie, and Sofia Botella as Saba Al-babr. Argyle is directed by Matthew Vaughn and also written by Jason Fuchs. A brief summary of the plot. A reclusive author who writes espionage novels about a secret agent and a global spy syndicate realizes the plot of her new book she is writing starts to mirror real-world events in real time. Okay, so let's get into our initial reaction. So going in, I didn't have high expectations. Based on the trailers, I thought this would be a fun spy thriller. Again, I've said it several times. I tend to enjoy action, so it's hard for me to miss on action. But for this one, there was a lot of action and some comedy moments that I did enjoy, but the biggest problem with this movie was the plot. It really didn't make a whole lot of sense. And, I wanted to see it. I thought it would be entertaining, but I don't know. I'll put it like this. For the people that, want to just go and enjoy a movie in the cinema and, are fans of actions, I recommend this movie for them. But for people that are, you have to have the movie make sense and the storylines and the plot and all the story beats have to line up, you probably want to pass on this one just because it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But sometimes all movies aren't serious and super deep, so sometimes you go to the movies just to have fun.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, if you're the type, like he said, that likes to be entertained, and you like the flash of the people that's in it, the star power,
right?
Then
Yes.
you go for that. Then this is for you.
Right.
If you like story structure, if you like storylines, if you like, some meaning.
You have anything else to add?
No, sir.
Okay, Mika.
Basically, it was fine. I guess it really didn't really come full circle per se is what you would want in an actual story. They just threw so much in there that was just like, okay, really?
Yeah.
So if you like you said, if you want entertainment, it's something to watch and all the things, and you like the particular characters that are in this movie, by all means, go for it, go see it. I think that you'll be entertained for sure. But as far as the actual story in itself,
do you recommend it?
No.
Okay. Mika?
It depends on what you like. So to me, I would recommend it for entertainment purposes, but if you just really want that storyline and all that, this is not the movie for you.
Okay. All right, so we're going to move into spoilers. Again, we say it every time, so if you don't want the movie spoiled, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
So we're going to give you a fair warning. 3, 2, 1. We're now in the spoiler section, so let's talk about the spoilers. Actually, I'm going to throw it to you, Mika, first. That way you can get your spoiler thoughts out. Just, how you felt about the movie overall.
Okay, well, I guess for me, overall, the movie was entertaining. I enjoyed definitely the first selection of the music that they put in the movie, which was by Barry White, My First and My Last. I love that song. So them throwing that in there just kind of just gives you like a good happy feel of the tone of what the movie is about. The guy who the guy who directed this movie. I'm trying to get his name
Vaughn.
right. Matthew Vaughn. So he directed Kingsman as well. And so when I first saw the trailer for this movie, I'm like, oh, is this the second one of Kingsman? But no, it wasn't. And then like, like the feel of the movie kind of gave me vibes that he was kind of like trying to do the same thing that he did with Kingsman. Yeah. Except for Kingsman,
it's just like a much better movie.
It was a much better movie that I think had a very, a definite, more solid storyline than what this one did. Yeah. I just think that, we kind of threw stuff in this movie to kind of make it funny and all the things. We like the character Samuel L. Jackson. So the characters did a phenomenal job in what they did. But it was just weird because they would put in, they got this cat going on. Then they got this guy who is on this train with her. It's like, the character who was in her book, there's them trying to tell this story. I guess because the story was based on a book that she was writing and trying to make it unfold, it kind of just made the story just like so unrealistic to me. And they just kept on throwing stuff. And the movie just didn't really seem real. I thought it was okay. It was entertaining, but it just wasn't doing what it needed to do. There was that leader who was kind of deceiving when it came to the agents that were in this movie. So I was kind of getting confused a little bit in the beginning about how this story was supposed to play out, because you have this guy who's over this team of agents.
Director Ritter.
Is that the guy who's over the agents?
Yeah, played by Bryan Cranston.
Okay, yeah. And so he's over these agents, and then he's trying to get, it's like he's on one team, but then he's really playing both of them. And then, it just is like, okay, so then just trying to figure out where this story was going. And it was like it was a movie, but then it came to be this whole story about a book that she was writing, trying to make it unfold. And they were bringing in real life to the book. It just wasn't working. And then you patching all this stuff together. And then it's like, now you got all these music scenes. I mean, they had places, stuff where they kind of made it fun and they're dancing and they're shooting around and like, making it like it's some little playful thing. It brought a few laughs and stuff, but it just like, again, like they just kind of threw stuff together. No disrespect to, the writers, nothing like that, but it just was not. It's like you didn't put all the ingredients to make your cake, to make it bake, to make it be a full cake, because your cake is falling apart, in my opinion.
It wasn't
when it comes to this movie.
It wasn't executed well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That's all you have to say?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Sean.
So Mika said something interesting about the issue of trust and playing both sides. And I think that's where this movie, it lost me. So, when we start out in the beginning, we're introduced to Elly Conway as an author. An author that kind of like is introverted, so to speak, stays to herself, writes these novels, and that they're pretty popular. And then, she's on a plane or on a train headed to see her parents when the stories that she's written start to unfold in front of her. And I take her to be genuinely confused and genuinely like shocked that this is happening. And then the story just continues to twist, and we're thrown a lot of stuff, not really details, but just thrown a lot of stuff that is not properly fleshed out. One thing I did when I first saw this trailer was I paid attention to how well it engaged me, and it didn't really engage me that much. And then I slipped up this week and accidentally saw the early scoring on Rotten Tomatoes, and I was like, okay. So then I started asking myself a series of questions. The first question what I got from the trailer was, the trailer told us that Matthew Vaughn had a twisted mind. So I asked myself the question throughout the film, does this movie display Matthew Vaughn's twisted mind? Yeah, it does. So much to the point where we don't really care about the characters or the outcome. And then I also saw that the storyline was cluttered. If a movie does not have an engaging storyline and it doesn't have a structure, structure is subjective. Mm-hmm. It can be, you can stylize it, which I think was the intention here. They were trying to do an artistic, not your typical storyline or not your typical structure. Mm-hmm. But it really would have benefited from having somebody say, let's try to, bring this in for the sake of the viewer. Mm-hmm. Because what is being pushed is the viewer can't trust either side.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going on. We don't know why it's going on.
I mean, I was thrown up by the parents.
Yeah,
Right.
that was that, and then we did they didn't give her time to
even
process what was going on. You know, and the dude that what's his name? Aiden.
Yeah,
Aiden. You know, he was supposed to be in love with her, and they had a relationship and all this stuff. And you know, I'm like, what?
And they made you think that he was against her because of that conversation that she heard him in the bathroom on the phone.
Yeah.
So that kind of threw you off.
Yeah. So the whole issue of trust and playing sides for me just wore me out until I was exhausted and I no longer cared.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I get the artisticness, I get the stylized, I get there was a scene where they were doing like synchronized shooting, and then there was another scene where the fight scenes where he was trying to be creative, I think. So there was like a synchronized kind of shooting scene, you know, where the movements were syncopated and they were, you know, lottie-dottie. And then there was another fight scene where they kind of threw back to like figure skating moves, where they was doing triple sow cows and they was doing axles and lunges and stuff. And then there was yet another scene, another fight scene where they poofed all this colorful smoke. So it's like, that's what it was. This was a colorful, smoky movie with no point.
And then they threw in there some mind control with the mom who had that.
Well, she was supposed to be like a sleeper.
Yeah,
agent.
so she hypnotized her. She hypnotized her with the
music box.
Yeah, with the music box, with
mm-hmm.
the figure skater on the music box,
mm-hmm.
and then she was brainwashed, and then she could use this box to control her.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay. If you're going to, every time you introduce something, it needs to be explained so that the viewer understands.
Right.
Yeah.
And you just can't be just throwing stuff in. So, yeah, there's that.
Okay. So, yeah, I don't have a lot to say. I agree with a lot of what you guys are saying. Now, Mika brought up The Kingsman, which...
Is that what this is based on?
No. It's just from
but
the
when
same...
I saw the trailer, I thought, oh, okay. You know what I'm saying? Because he got Samuel Jackson in there. The scenes look similar to me from both movies in certain instances.
It's not the same movie.
Same, but it just kind of gave me like the same feel.
Yeah, because it's from the same director, Matthew Vaughn.
Right.
So his style was definitely prevalent in the movie.
The writer, the Jason Fuchs, is he the same in The Kingsman too?
I don't think so. I think Matthew Vaughn wrote The Kingsman.
Okay.
But yeah, we brought up that movie, and just to compare, I think that movie worked because it was more, when it came out, I think the original came out in, was it 2014? 2014?
Was it 14?
Yeah, it was 2014. So I think that movie worked more because it was a balance. There was a lot of story.
Yeah, that's what was missing.
There was a lot of action, but the plot was interesting enough to where we was like, okay, what is this Kingsman? Let's learn about that.
And they introduced you to the young man that they were using, who was going to be their man to do all that he was doing as his character.
Yeah.
So we knew what his character was doing.
Yeah, you're talking about Taron Egerton, and then I liked how they played in Colin Firth in that movie. For this, it was just, they had like a quirk, like a premise, like, you know, it starts off in the beginning, which I'll go through that in the key points, but it starts off in the beginning where it's like, okay, Henry Cavill, who is, you know, Superman, which that's why I'm wearing my Superman shirt.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's not Superman no more, right?
Well, yeah, not anymore, but he was Superman. But he's a typical, you know, prototype for an action star. So he's like, it starts off that way, but then it changes. And that's where I think that most of the critics and the audience gets lost, because it's like we go in looking for an action movie with Henry Cavill, which most people would be in for that. Mm-hmm. But then it switches, and now it's Bryce Dallas Howard as Elly Conway, which... she's not a action
person at all.
So, you know, we had to kind of...
you don't get action vibes from her.
You know, buy into her as an action star and have her carry the movie, which Bryce Dallas Howard is a good actor. And she's even a better director.
Yeah, I think she's Ron Howard's daughter.
So, you know, it was weird to kind of take the movie out of Henry Cavill's hands and basically put it into Bryce Dallas Howard, which, you know, I'm not saying that's wrong, but it just didn't, in my opinion, it just didn't work.
Yeah,
So
I would agree.
that's how I felt about it. You know, there was a lot of quirky stuff and weird stuff that,
Yeah, stylized,
stylized.
like,
Yeah.
entertainment. Kind of remind me
Right.
of Quentin. I love Quentin Tarantino,
Right.
but it kind of reminds me of that a little bit. Just the storyline and the structure.
Yeah. And even the Kingsman had some quirky stuff, or there's a scene in the Kingsman, spoiled for the Kingsman, but where everybody's heads pop off. Like it's kind of like, in slow motion and, everybody's heads are popping off. So, Matthew Vaughn has done quirky stuff in movies, but I think that, for the most part, this movie didn't work just because it's kind of like you had like one little quirk and you kind of rolled it throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
no.
So I'm gonna hit a couple of key story points and then go through that. So again, I talked about the beginning where, Henry Cavill as Agent Argyle is in the club doing some spy stuff, and he sees Dua Lipa's character, she's playing like a young woman spy, and he notices her, so he, talks to her, and it turns out that, that him being in that club is basically a setup. So everybody in that club, all of a sudden, as soon as she reveals that she's a spy, everybody turns their gun on Henry Cavill's character. Which at that point I was like, okay, this is typical James Bond, type
that's
of
the feel you get.
spy movie. So, and Henry Cavill's character ends up escaping, and so does Dua Lipa's character, and then
Into Greece.
Right. Yeah, that's where they were, Greece. I
Yeah.
tried to figure out where they were, but yeah, you're right. They are in Greece. And somehow they meet up with John Cena's character, Wyatt. So they're basically chasing her out through the city. And John Cena character's, basically that scene in the trailer where he stops her on the motorcycle and grabs her off.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's revealed that that all this is a part of Elly Conway's book. So the camera basically pans out, and then we see Elly Conway, Bryce Dallas Howard's character, talking to, I guess she's getting an award for her latest book series.
They're actually doing a book
signing.
book review,
Oh,
kind
book
of a
review.
signing thing.
Right.
So it's a question and answer during a book signing, I believe.
Right. And I think
or a book review type of thing.
And I mentioned it before, I think that's where most audiences got lost, which they kind of hint at that premise in the trailer, but I think that taking it from, like I said before, from a Henry Cavill spy action movie, which we've seen because he's been in a lot of movies like that. Even he was in one of the Mission Impossibles, and he kind of played the villain. So we've seen Henry Cavill in that role, but to switch it from that, I think that premise overall didn't work.
Well, I want to add though, I did like, this is probably the only thing I did like, was that they visually showed us her working out her imagination.
Right. Yes.
So she would, write, and then Henry Cavill's character would be stuck because it would be showing us that she was having a brain freeze or writer's block.
Right.
Yeah. So she was on book 5, and she was trying to write one more chapter to get this whole situation out.
Yeah.
To get it to play out.
Yeah.
Right. So after, the little book situation, I don't remember what happens, but she ends up on the train.
She was going to see her parents.
She was going to see her
because she couldn't. She was having issues trying to finish
the
book because her mama didn't like the ending. How it ended.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And her mama was going to come see her, but then she decided to take the train and go see her mom. And then that's when she met, Aiden?
Aiden.
Mm-hmm.
So she meets Aiden on the train, and it's revealed that Aiden is a real life spy. And I guess he's talking to her, and he's like a fan of her book and, stuff. All that goes down, and then I'm not going to go through every detail, but all that goes down, and what's the name of the people that's chasing them? The Division or something like that?
Yeah, the Division.
So Division is chasing them around.
Out of nowhere.
Well, yeah,
in my opinion.
Right. It's out of nowhere, but they kind of hint at why she's being chased, because basically her books are playing out in real life, and they're trying to hunt her down because she might have the secret to what's going to happen next.
Yeah. So that's why they want to get her to write.
So they end up in, so they run around for several scenes in the movie, and they end up in, I think it's Paris or something like
London.
France,
London.
and they go to a winery where it's revealed that Samuel L. Jackson's character, who is
Alfie.
Mm-hmm.
is the former director of the
CIA.
CIA.
Yeah.
And so he's talking to, we know as Elly, and basically he reveals that Ellie's real name is Rachel Kyle, and she is the real
Argyle.
Is the real Agent Argyle. Which,
so Argyle.
Right. Which we've talked about it, where it's like now you're making Bryce Dallas Howard the action star, which for most people, not Bryce Dallas Howard is very talented, and like I said, I think she's a better director. But to have her be an action star really doesn't. Like, we wanted Henry Cavill.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I mean, you know, it just, when you're coming into this, you don't really see her as
right.
that.
Yeah, I mean, she played.
Maybe she's like one of those. What do you call them? Not anti, but you know how the in the DC or Marvel universe they have certain heroes.
Oh yeah.
You know, maybe she's not. Maybe she's like a lesser
hero.
Yeah, not the what are they called?
Minor character.
Yeah,
minor hero.
So our question. So I mean, do you know how when they were on the train and Henry Cavill's the character, she kept on seeing him and Aiden as the same person back and forth. Did that make sense to you?
And I think what Matthew Vaughn was trying to do to that is hint at that, you know, Elly being the real Agent Argyle and Wyatt's character, or Aiden's character, was supposed to be her sidekick. So he was kind of like the real Henry Cavill's character in real life, which I don't think it worked, because
it didn't.
Are you Argyle or are you Aiden? It's like they were. It was like a lot of confusing things.
And then was the Dua Lipa character and Elly becoming or going back to being her real person,
Rachel?
herself? Is they supposed to be the same?
I don't know. I think they were trying to make that, but I don't know. It was
a
lot of things.
Their hair was terrible.
Right.
It was horrible.
A lot of things in this movie didn't really make sense. And like I said, for me, I always love action. So I was able to, when they revealed that Bryce Dallas Howard is the real Agent Argyle, that was kind of like the moment where I stopped taking the movie seriously.
Yeah, I thought it was the cat.
And I was like, okay.
That's how wrong I was.
They didn't jump the shark, so I'm just gonna sit here and enjoy the movie. I'm not gonna, sit here and try to act like, you compare it to Kingsman. At that point, it's like that's out the window. This is just something that probably they just wrote in a couple days and said, "Oh, we can make this a movie or something." Because you can tell that they didn't take it as seriously as something like the Kingsman. It was kind of like, we got a writer and she's gonna be the real spy, and I was like, okay, that really doesn't work, because. Yeah. Anybody, if you were to cast anybody other than Bryce Dallas Howard, maybe Charlize Theron or something like that, where we know that Charlize Theron can be an action star.
Because we've seen her.
Right.
Now, yeah.
But Bryce Dallas Howard, it was kind of like, oh, okay, let's just watch this movie, because I don't know if this is working for me, which I love the action, but I don't know. So jump to we've revealed that Rachel is Elly Conway, and now towards the end of the movie, she's doing all the spy things. Like, she's kind of remembering who she is, because her parents, which we learned that is not actually her parents, they are a part of the division. So her dad is revealed, revealed to be Director Ritter, who is Bryan Cranston, and her mom, Catherine O'Hara, is just like a spy lady. Like, she has an English accent and all that.
She's a doctor,
right? So the biggest problem that I had with this movie is that it didn't make sense. It just was just kind of like whatever, It felt like that they got lazy, and it's like, even with the costume, it's like she had on that gold dress for the rest of the movie. I was like, wow, You doing all that butt kicking in a gold dress?
She kicked her shoes off, though.
Oh yeah, she did end up changing her shoes. Like if you change the shoes, just change the whole outfit. But yeah. We'll get into what the critics are saying. So currently, it's getting a 35% on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics, and then the audience score is 66, which in this situation, I do agree with the audience. I wouldn't say it was a terrible movie, like a 35% terrible movie.
Yeah.
I did enjoy some of the action, so I think 66% is fair. So we'll get into our final thoughts and our rating. I'll start with you, Mika.
For me, just because it just wasn't serious and all the things, I'd give it a 2.5, maybe 3.
All right, Shauna.
Convoluted, confusing.
What's your score?
2.
Okay. For me, my score is a little bit complicated because, again, like I said before, I did enjoy the action, but it wasn't good enough to give it a 3, and I don't know if I can give it like a 2.5, so I'll give it like a weird score, like a 2.8, because this is more like a Netflix movie. I'll put it like that.
Yeah, I would agree with
Something
that.
you watch on Saturday afternoon, when you got nothing else to do,
For sure. I mean, I would watch it again at home, but yeah, just to go to the movies and see it again, no.
Okay, so that's it. Thanks again for watching.
Thank you guys
for listening.
So much.
We appreciate you. And with that being said,
see you soon.